The library is a magical but underutilised and underappreciated service in our society. It's a place where you can find comfort, adventure, and yourself. But we live in a society obsessed with shiny, new aesthetic things, and pre-read books wrapped in plastic don't make the cut. I'm on a mission to reduce my carbon footprint and overconsumption and support my local community by making the most of this wonderful service available to me. Welcome to the Library Diaries.
Hello everyone, it's Fiona and welcome back to my channel, Courtney Eva Chanel, and welcome to episode 5 of the Library Diaries. I think I'm just going to go back to picking one book for this episode. So I've got my random number generator up, 1 to 330, and I'm going to generate 9. Okay, that's a very early one. 9, let's see what that is. The Reader on the 627 by Jean-Paul Didier Laurent. Let's see if it's available. Do any of the libraries have it? In hardback and paperback. Love it when that happens. Oh, there's loads of copies of it. Do you want me to read you the description? I do find this description is typically different to the one printed on the back of the book, but on here it says, Guilain Vigneault lives on the edge of existence. Working at a book pulping factory in a job he hates, he has but one pleasure in life, sitting on the 627 train each day. I need to figure out how to say that. Guilain. Okay. Guilain Vigneault lives on the edge of existence. Working at a book pulping factory in a job he hates, he has but one pleasure in life. Sitting on the 627 train each day, Guilain recites aloud from pages he has saved from the jaws of his monstrous pulping machine. And it's this release of words into the world that starts our hero on a journey that will finally bring meaning into his life. For one morning, Guilain discovers the diary of a lonely young woman, Julie. A woman who feels as lost in the world as he does. As he reads from these pages to a rapt audience, Guilain finds himself falling hopelessly in love with their enchanting author. Ooh. Sorry, I suppose her name would be Julie, not Julie. I will chat to you once I've picked up and perhaps started reading. So I'm about halfway through, just over halfway through, and I'm not too sure yet. I think it took a little while for me to kind of figure out what was going on. Like this, basically what it's about is a man who gets on the 627 train to work every day and reads passages and pages out of random books aloud, and the other commuters look forward to that and really enjoy that, which is quite hard to believe, but I think that's just something you have to go with in this book. I certainly don't see that happening in the UK, but hey. But he goes to work, and it took me a little while to figure out what his job was, but I think that's intentional, so I'm not going to disclose that. But I still don't really feel like there's much happening. Not the chapter I just read, but the one before that was a bit of a change, and that was quite interesting, so I'm intrigued to see if that plotline continues. However, I think it's more likely to move on from the chapter that I just read, which was different again, and it seems like that's going to be a catalyst for more things to happen in the story, but I might be wrong. I think that's where it's going though. I don't know where it's going with that, but I think that's the storyline that's taking the lead for the time being and for the next little bit. But I don't really feel I have a lot to say other than, and this is like totally irrelevant to the plot, but the pages in this book are so thick. I think this might be the thickest paged book I've ever read. And also, all the page numbers are at the bottom, not that weird, but the author's name and the book title are also at the bottom, where they're usually at the top, which doesn't make any difference to the book, but when I first opened it I was like, whoa, that looks so different to normal. But like I say, I know that's totally irrelevant to the book, but just to throw that out there, something I picked up on. But yeah, other than that, I don't really feel I've got anything to say. yet about the book, so I'm just going to carry on reading and see what happens next. I'm guessing I probably won't check in with you now until I finish the book, because like I said, I'm halfway. It's not very long, it's only 194 pages, or 193 maybe, and I've read 106, so I'm getting pretty close now. Hopefully I'll finish this later today. So I finished this book this evening, and I don't really feel like I have a lot to say. It was a nice enough way to spend a day or so, but I don't think I'm going to take that much from this, which is fine. There are books that are like that, and that's absolutely fine. I don't feel like I got much from this. I don't know how I feel. It felt a bit nothingy. The main thing that I do want to comment on is the translation, because this book is translated from French to English, and I do feel quite strongly that we as English readers should, and like first language English readers, should read more translated books translated into English. But this translator, I have so much respect for, and I have so much respect for all translators. It's an absolutely incredible skill. But there's one character in this book who talks a lot, well, pretty much exclusively in verse and in snippets and quotes, often from, I don't know if it's like biblical, or no, I don't think it is. I think it's like Greek mythology and that kind of a vibe. So even in English, I didn't always personally understand what he was getting at. But my point is that he speaks in rhyme and in verse that rhymes. Now, obviously, the original author Jean-Paul Didier wrote this in French and did a great job, I'm assuming. But then Ros Schwartz, the translator, has taken all that, kept the energy and the feelings and the vibes of that character, put it all into English, and still found a way to make it say the same thing but in different words so that it rhymes. And I think that is absolutely incredible. So a major hats off to Ros Schwartz for translating this, and a thanks to Jean-Paul Didier for writing this. Like I say, there was nothing wrong with it. There just wasn't anything like that felt super enthusiastically right for me, and that's okay. So that brings us to the end. Thank you for watching episode 5 of the Library Diaries and for spending a little bit of time with me. I hope you're well, and I will see you in the next one.